Everybody, and welcome to another deck profile. Today I'll be doing the Darklord deck, and my build is a bit different than what people normally play, but without further ado, let's get into it. So, starting off, 3 copies of Darklord Ixchel. Ixchel has the effect to discard itself and another Darklord to draw 2 cards, and the reason this is good is because it's a built-in trade-in in the deck, which is great for hitting cards you want into the grave, and then you get to draw 2 more cards. So, it's got a lot of sort of synergy with the deck, because it helps you filter through your deck as well. And then 1 Darklord Morningstar, because if you go second, this card lets you plus really hard by summoning a lot of effect monsters to the board. And it's basically for free as well, because you simply have to summon it, and your opponent has to have effect monsters. And then we play 2 copies of Darklord Tezcatlipoca. So the protection effect in the hand to protect a Darklord from destruction isn't super viable, but the reason I play it is because he's level 9, and if you play 2, you can make True King of All Calamities pretty easily. So definitely want to play 2 of him. Then we play 3 copies of Darklord Nastin. Nastin really is only good because it's the best way to summon a monster to the board in the deck, because Darklords on their own can't really summon themselves, but Nastin helps you get a monster into the board really easily, and that's why you definitely want to play 3 Nastin. You can also make Big Eye with it, but yeah. And then you play 2 copies of Darklord Amdusk, because this helps you grab back resources after you've used them. Yeah, other than playing, well, Amdusk in its own is a -1 because you have to discard itself and another card to grab something in grave. But you can also make Beatrice with 2 of these, so definitely want to play the Amdusks for that. Also, all the monsters here except for Morningstar have the effect to basically reuse a spell effect in grave for free, except for paying 1,000. Yeah, so 3 copies of Darklord Superbia, because if you revive it in grave, you can revive something else for free. Sometimes you'll go for an Ukobak, play 2 copies of this. This is basically an Armageddonite in the deck. You can send any Darklord you want from your deck to the grave, and you can just send whatever you need there. So that's it for the Darklords. On to the other techs. I play 2 copies of Chaos Dragon Levineer. So the reason this card is good is because it's basically a Blackluster Soldier, but has the effect of destroying 2 things non-target on your opponent's side of the field if you banish at least 1 light and at least 1 dark. So the lights we play Archer Christia, because if you make this, it's basically a Vanity's Fiend, where your opponent can't special summon monsters. And then 2 Effect Veilers and Gamma, because well, they're good hand traps in general, and they're also light, so they synergize with the Chaos Dragon Levineer. So besides that, that's why I play these 2 hand traps in particular. Also, yeah, the Chaos Dragon is what I mentioned by my build being a little different, but I honestly do think it gives the deck a lot of firepower in that you're able to have popping ability, and it's also a really big beater, so that also comes up. So that's it for the monsters. Onto the spells, we play 3 copies of Darklord Contact. This is the monster reborn of the deck. You basically just have to special summon anything, or you get to special summon anything from your grave for free, and if you use the Darklord monster's effects, you basically get to use it more than once per turn. Then we use 3 copies of Banishment of the Darklords. So this is the Rhoda of Darklords. It searches you anything in your deck, and once again, if you use the Darklord monster's effects to apply their effects in grave, you can use this more than once per turn. That's like the sort of niche that the Darklord archetype plays with, is applying these effects basically more than once. And we play 3 copies of Lure Darkness, because it's like the best draw spell in the entire deck, because it's the only one besides Ixchel, but you really want to filter through your deck in this deck, so you want to hit like the resources you want, so 3 Allure Darkness makes sense for that. Another great card is Reasoning, because this is one of the best ways to get a monster on the board. You play like every single level, basically. They're really high levels too, so your opponent won't know to call them if you're going in blind. But basically Reasoning is good because you're able to get monsters into the board and filter or send the spells and traps you mill to the grave, so you get to use them. Then 2 copies of Scapegoat. Scapegoat's good because it's a great tempo card. If you go first, you set it, and then you get to use it, summon 4 tokens. You can link them into a link 4, or you can link them into a bunch of link 1s, then tribute them off for like a Morningstar. Yeah, so that about sums up the spells. And then onto the traps. We play Rebellion, Enchantment, and Sanctified Darklord. So the reason I play this ratio in particular is because you sort of have a trap built for every scenario. Rebellion is great for outing monsters or like problematic cards because it's also non-target destruction. Enchantment is good because you get to steal an opponent's monster and disrupt their plays. And Sanctified Darklord is basically an effect veiler. So a lot of the times I actually go for Sanctified, but in meta matchups, this is usually the better card because you're able to pop and disrupt much better. Whereas like an effect negation isn't as effective. Enchantment is really good on your turn because you steal their guy and you get to link with it. But yeah, that about sums up the main deck. Onto the extra deck. We play 7 Sins and Pain Gainer to get into the 7 Sins. So I play these two because it gives the deck a lot of beatdown versatility. Also 7 Sins effects. After turn 1 you make it. You get to blow up your opponent's field of special summon monsters, which is pretty insane. And then Trucking of All Calamities because it's basically a skill drain. And Sandify on the Sky Prison. I lied, this is actually a skill drain for your opponent. But Sandify on the Sky Prison is good because you hit a lot of cards into the grave, so it bumps up really high because it gains 100 attack for every card in both graves. And it also is protection in that it can't be destroyed by card effects, and you're not destroying it by battle with like a lot of attack and defense. And it also has the quick effect to detach, and then neither player can special summon from grave, so it locks your opponent out of the grave. There are some times where it contradicts with your own effects, like contact, but honestly, it's worth it if you lock your opponent out, depending on what they're playing. The one Titanic Galaxy, because it's a spell negate, and the deck doesn't mind having a negate or two. Red Eyes Flare and Big Eye, because Red Eyes Flare for a bit of burn, and Big Eye to steal an opponent's monster. Again, the Big Eye is actually, I've made it one of probably the most out of all of my extra deck monsters, but yeah, Big Eye's good for that. Dampier Vampire Sheridan, because you get to plus really hard by popping something, then special summoning it from the grave. And then Beatrice, because Beatrice lets you hit anything in your deck to the grave. So if like you need a Rebellion, but you don't have one in the grave, you can just send one and you can use it with another Darklord effect. Onto the links. Warlord Dragon, Skull Dread, Mrs. Radiant, Link Spider, Link Rebo. These three are targets for Scapegoat, and these two are just good targets to make if you have these monsters on the board. So the reason what it meant by tribute summoning the Scapegoat tokens is you would link these two, for example, off. Well, you would link 2 tokens into these two, and then you would tribute those two for like a Morning Star. And then the last extra deck monster I play is a Omega because it sort of makes your Gamma and Driver live, and you get to reuse it if you have more than one. And also, Driver is a level 6, so you can make Beatrice with it if you wanted to. Well, that about sums up the deck profile, but before I conclude, I want to talk about the interaction that the Darklord monsters have, and a bit of confusion that some people might have. So, as you can see, well, first of all, the Darklord monsters on their own have the effects as a quick effect to pay 1,000 to apply this effect of a spell or trap in grave, a Darklord spell or trap in grave. So, let's say I have Darklord, Banishment of the Darklords. If I activate it to search, there's no cost. It's just I get to search, right? If it's in the grave and I have like an Ix-Shell in the field and I use Ix-Shell effect to pay 1,000, so pay 1,000 for cost, and I get to apply the effect to search for anything. That becomes a monster effect because it's Ix-Shell applying the effect of the banishment of the Darklords. But if I have something like a Dark Rebellion and I'm activating it, if I activate Dark Rebellion, it has the cost to send a Darklord from hand or field to the grave. So that's the activation cost. But if it's in the grave and I use Ix-Shell effect to apply Rebellion's effect, since it's not the activation of Rebellion, I don't have to pay the cost of sending a Darklord from field or grave, field or hand to grave. And that's why, since the difference is I'm applying the effect, not activating it, and that's why I'm able to apply the effect of banishment or contact or rebellion more than once per turn. And that's something that like you want to really make use of in the Darklord deck. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in another deck profile.